God message for you today. Has it ever crossed your mind that Satan doesn't want to kill us, but only to destroy our faith in God, and force God to end our lives instead? Nothing would make the devil more glad. The devil's ultimate plan is for us to hate ourselves and wallow in sorrow. The devil is opposed to us, and he would want for us to oppose ourselves. Thankfully, God is on our side, and when we know how to agree with God and what He says about us in His Word, the adversary loses all power and his scheme fails. I have been rejected so many times and in so many different ways that I have lost count, but with God's aid and healing power, I am now able to declare that I like myself. Everyone has to learn to appreciate and value themselves. If Jesus cared enough about you to die for you, then you should never degrade or reject yourself. Even if you don't love yourself, watch this video till end if you want to include Jesus in your life. There is so much suffering in the world, and it gives Satan great pleasure when people point the finger of blame at God. It's not even God's fault, though. Sin and all its accompanying suffering, death, and destruction were gifts from Satan. So much suffering exists in the world, from interpersonal violence to global famine to the death of a loved one to terrorist acts, and it never seems to end. Satan, the personification of evil and anarchy, takes great pleasure in the never-ending web of misery that surrounds our planet. Every nook and cranny of reality appears to have been corrupted by his demonic touch, from the darkest depths of interpersonal brutality to the most agonizing pangs of global starvation. Type Amen in the comment box if you love God. He lives on the hopelessness we feel when we lose someone we care about, drawing strength from the pain that overwhelms us. Terrorism, which thrives on violence and ruin, is nothing more than a playground for his sick enjoyment. His life is a masterpiece of misery and sorrow, and the world is his canvas. His evil influence permeates every aspect of reality, and he takes sick pleasure in sowing discord and gloom. Satan's influence is all around us, casting a shadow over humankind's aspirations and goals, from the broken lives left in the wake of interpersonal violence to the haunting screams of those tormented by worldwide starvation. And yet, even in the midst of such crushing gloom, a glimmer of optimism persists, a sliver of light that will not be put out. Together, our fortitude and determination will allow us to triumph against Satan's evil and pave the way to health and salvation. A continual reminder of Satan's existence is the pain of losing a loved one, a gaping hole in one's heart that can never be filled. Terrorists can perform horrific crimes, but he feeds off the anxiety and hopelessness they create. It's becoming increasingly apparent that breaking free of this never-ending loop is nothing more than a pipe dream. The world's ills keep on going, keeping people in a never-ending cycle of suffering. These are all terrible things that have happened to me, but they pale in comparison to what could have happened. The worst possible outcome is severing ties with God and spending eternity apart from Him. There is no situation that is even quite comparable to that. Trust in Jesus, no matter how difficult things get. Don't be afraid to call on Him for assistance. Are you lonely and isolated? Insecure? Afraid? If you pray, God will see you. Feel guilty about remembering some things? Regret? Trauma? It's not a secret from Him. Were you lied to? Have you ever messed up? Is your quiet suffocating you? Yes, He is still present. God fashioned you in the womb of your mother and has watched over you the whole time. God Himself is aware of your existence. He is aware of the extent of your suffering and the difficulty of your circumstances. He is familiar with the problems that consume you and the conflicts you encounter. Because of His omniscience, God is aware of every single one of your tears and every single one of your prayers. There are other people going through life with you. God's love for you will never change since God is love itself. He can provide comfort to your heart and quiet to your thoughts. Put your faith in Him, for He is there for you even in the darkest of times, and He will show you the route to a better tomorrow. Know that no matter how rough things become, God is always there for you. One who knows everything there is to know about you is also the source of a love that will last forever and conquer all. God's unavoidable presence is like a spotlight that illuminates every hidden corner. During times of worry and doubt, it is normal to feel overburdened and stressed. But even in the midst of chaos, there is comfort in knowing that God's peace may quiet your anxious thoughts. Watch this video till end, it's important. His unflinching love and support are a rock to lean on even when the world seems to be caving in around you. If you have unyielding faith, you may take solace in the knowledge that God will never leave you, no matter how rough the seas get. Even though He is well aware of every nuance of your personality, His love for you is unwavering. This love is greater than any force on earth and has no limits. God's presence is like a bright light that illuminates the darkest corners of your spirit at any time of day or night. Put your faith in His omnipotence and let Him guide you to a better tomorrow, full of hope and fresh vigor. But your past cannot scare God, and He will not abandon you. Being His creation guarantees His flawless and eternal love for you. He has vowed to remain. We can't even begin to understand the scope of this information. But trust it and take a break. Stop running from God. He is after you. Just be yourself in God's presence, for He already knows and loves you totally regardless of what you do. Amen.